in your Bibles to the book of Ruth. We are going to finish this series today. We've had a great time in Favored, and I did not even get to Joseph. There's a whole lot more, but I'm praying the Lord will let me revisit this. We've got an exciting plan the next few weeks and months. We've got 4 months here: August, September, October, November. And we are starting Every Family Better in not next week, but the week after. And the way we're going to do Every Family Better is we're bringing it to Sunday morning. Now, it's not going to be the crazy out of control that Sunday nights were, but we are going to go deeper this EFB season, and we're going to invite the entire church. All you have to do to be a part of EFB this year, we do want you to sign up if you plan to engage. But we want everybody to engage Sunday mornings, okay? So be in your place on Sunday morning. We're going to start with EFB. We're taking each month and we're diving deep on what our 4 different teams mean. Our teams are legacy, tribe, mission, and blessing. And we're going to kind of dive in 1 month on each one of those topics. And we're going to give you some opportunities to come to some fun events and to go a little deeper. We're gonna at some point in that time, we're gonna start a podcast, and we're gonna spend 2 hours just talking a little deeper on Sunday's content that you can tune into as you want to that week, and maybe go a little deeper with the content. And I'll invite some of you maybe even to come have a conversation with me in that podcast, as well as some other guests. But we're just gonna kind of have a good time here for 4 months and try to see, here's the goal, that every single family could take a step in the right direction with the Lord. Just a step, just 1 step in the right direction, working on our mission, our legacy, what it means to be a blessing, and what is it to be a part of a tribe. And so we're gonna talk about all of that. It's gonna be a great time. And again, we'll be starting in 2 weeks from today. Looking forward to that. We have a special guest speaker next week. I want you here. Next week, my pastor from Arkansas, his name's Eric Capacey, is gonna be here with us. And Eric loved me when no one else did. I had a moment, I've told you many times about this moment in my early ministry where I was the man without a country, and it happened in like a week's time. I went from knowing what I was gonna do for the rest of my life to having no clue if I was even gonna still serve God. And I had one favor. One of the men in my life made one phone call to Eric Capacey and said, look, here's the situation, and here's a guy you probably wouldn't take a look at, and his pastor's not going to give him a good recommendation. He's not going to graduate college because of what's happened here in his life, and he's done nothing wrong. But if you take a risk on him, I think you should. And with that phone call, he said he would hire me, and I found myself driving to Arkansas, and he loved on me for 10 years, taught me so much about ministry, and this is the first time since I think he was here maybe the first month that I was interim pastor, he came through, but he's not been here since, and I'm very excited about him coming. And I want you to just love on him next week and come and just do me that favor, because I remember going to Hot Springs, going to church there, and he would bring in a man by the name of Glenn Riggs, which was his pastor. And I had such an appreciation for Pastor Glenn Riggs just because he gave us Eric Capacey. He poured into him, and you know, Glenn wasn't a perfect man. He was not a perfect pastor. No one is. But man, it was a joy when he would come and just preach to us and see the heart with which was poured into the pastor that pastored me for 10 years. And so I'm looking forward to that next week. And so he'll be here with us, and I hope you'll be in your place. Favored, week number 9. Can you believe we've had 9 weeks in this series and we didn't get halfway through? I told you it was a long one, and we'll see what happens, but we didn't get there. Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. I started with this question: would you rather have the blessing of God or the favor of God? And I think most of us in the South, we kind of like the blessing, you know, just say, hey, just pour out a blessing on me, Lord. Bless their hearts. You know, that's one of our catchphrases down here. But we just want to be, we got doormats that say blessed. We got T-shirts that say blessed. We've got bumper stickers that say, I know I'm blessed. And so we like blessing in the South, but the truth is favor is really, really a next level. Favor is something that God pours out to fill the gaps, to fill the lack in our life. And we talked about in the very early part of this series, I kind of drew on the board going from a 5 by 5 to a 10 by 10. And that's kind of something we've carried through the whole study. And the idea is that God has a plan for your tomorrow that you can't even think about or imagine today. And God, who wrote your story, who knows every page of your life before you were even born, has a purpose for you, has an identity that he's called you to, has a gifting that he's poured out on you, is ready to take you to each season's next level. And so that's what we've been talking about here. And so the question is this: is favor like a lottery? Do you wake up one morning favored of God? You know, we think of David in the Bible. Remember, good little shepherd boy out there watching the sheep, and then all of a sudden one day, one of his siblings comes up and says, "Dad wants you at the house." And he gets to the house to find out that there's been an entire event going on that he wasn't invited to. He had no idea what was going on. And the prophet of God was there, Samuel, and he had come to anoint one of Jesse's sons to be king. And he'd gone through all of his siblings and said, "I don't feel it. I'm just not seeing it. This is not it." And the family was shocked. And he said, "Do you not have another son?" And they're like, "Well, we do, but it's that little redhead David boy, ruddy-haired David. He's out there watching the sheep because he's no count." And Samuel said, "Well, go get him." And Jesse said, "Well, let's sit down and eat." And he said, "We're not going to eat till David gets here. We're waiting." And so they ran out to the field. Unbeknownst to David walks in, and Samuel anoints him. It's almost like a lottery ticket. You're going to be the next king. He pours out favor on him. And so I think sometimes we look at favor or anointing like, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. I mean, we don't know. We just think it happens, you know. It's some way, somehow, you just wake up one day and you're a pastor and you're an anointed singer of God and you're called to a ministry and you just wake up one day. Well, it's not exactly like that. You can actually obtain favor. One of the great verses about Jesus is this. The Bible says that Jesus gained wisdom and increased in stature and favor with God and man. So you can increase and you can obtain favor. And so I want to teach you, and I've been teaching you, I want to put a bow on it. How do you obtain favor? You don't have to wish upon a star. It doesn't involve Jiminy Cricket or any of these little rubbing a lamp or anything like that. You can actually obey the word of God and obtain the favor of God. And so we're going to take a look at it. Let me read to you. This should be a very familiar passage to you at this point if you've been here for the last 9 weeks. But let's read it together for the last time in this study for now anyway. Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, this is Ruth's mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you?" I said that favor is not when you hear God. Favor is where someone else hears from God for you. And all of a sudden, you're just out there in the field tending the sheep, and then all of a sudden, Samuel shows up with a word from God for you. It is a favor that has been being worked on when you weren't even at the table yet. It's amazing. And that's what Naomi was saying. Should I not seek rest for you? I've been thinking about you. I'm worried about you. I've asked the Father for you. I'm looking for a way for you to be cared for after I'm gone. You've lost your husband. You don't have any hope or security. We're beggars. I'm looking for rest. I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for security for you. Even if Ruth wasn't looking for it for herself, Naomi was. She said in verse 2, "Is not Boaz our relative with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash, therefore, and anoint yourself. Put on your cloak and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies, then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." And Naomi replied to Ruth, "All that you say, I will do." So here's the deal. Every new season, we've got the 5 by 5 and the 10 by 10. You need to know this. Every new season that God has for you has different procedures that you need to learn, different guidelines that you need to learn. What worked in the 5 by 5, it might work in the 10 by 10, but oftentimes it doesn't, at least not to the same effect. And it doesn't mean you have to forget everything you learn, but there's certainly some new things that you have to learn. There's some new guidelines. You can be a beggar and get away with some things, but you're never gonna be an owner if you don't lose some of that begging mentality, right? When God wants to take you from single to married, this is what was happening in Ruth's life. When you go from single to married, you gotta leave some things in the rearview mirror. I mean, some of you men need to lose the PlayStation, man. You're married now, right? You gotta kind of, I mean, I appreciate that you live to go fishing, but you're married now. Maybe hang the poles up and do some things around the house on Saturday. And all God's people said, oh, wow, that was better than I expected. I heard some men voices. Must not have picked the right hobby. The fishermen were quiet, but hunting. Is there have any takers on hunting? Amen. Okay. The idea here is that you have to learn a new guideline or procedure for the next level, okay? So this is what we're talking about. She's moving from, like I said, beggar to owner, from single to married. She's moving from lack to wealth with authority over wealth. Like she's going from picking up after the gleaners to telling the gleaners where to go. Like this is a big increase in her life. It's a totally new game, and she's gonna have to carry herself differently. She's gonna have to follow different protocols and guidelines. She's gonna have to understand this. Now, one of the things we've talked about in the study is the value of a mentor. And a mentor is somebody that can come alongside you and teach you tomorrow's guidelines. So when you have a good mentor, whether you're a young kid on a ball team and you got a good coach, the coach meets with you before you've ever played a game with that team. And he's given you guidelines for how you're gonna play on his team. And I've seen this a lot. A lot of people are like, no, I'm gonna tell you how I play at the park. And the coach goes, well, on my team, you're gonna play this way. And you go, no, I'm just really gifted. I'm gonna play like I play in the park. And then they're shocked when the coach doesn't put them in the game because they don't get to play like they used to play. They're gonna play like the coach tells them to play. And I've watched a lot of times people get attitude and chip on their shoulder because they're not willing to leave the 5x5 and submit to the mentorship that qualifies them for the guidelines of the next season. Does that make sense? So what happens is God brings you to things. The things that you get away with when you're single aren't that cute when you're married. Anybody in here been married long enough for the other person to lose oh, they're so cute when they do that. You remember being newlyweds and saying, baby, I love when you get mad. And like 30 years later, you're like, are you gonna stop being mad? When are you gonna stop being mad? Like, it's not cute anymore. It's not funny. You know, I love when you slap me on the rear end. 30 years later, you better still love it. It's important, okay? But the idea here is that we expect some guidelines to start changing and some things to be different, right? And so what we're trying to do as students of the Word, as Every Family Better attenders, we're trying to become better, which means we've got to get okay with being challenged past the way we've been. How do you do with challenge? Do you get mad at the preacher when he steps on your toes? Did you know the preacher's usually not trying to step on your toes? Now, every once in a while, I'll reach over and stomp one because you need it, but it's love. It's love. Most of the time, though, it's an inadvertent stomping, and it's not even sure that the preacher didn't have your name in mind. It's the Holy Spirit nudging you and elbowing you a little bit. How do you do with that? One of the things that's going to make you able to, how many of you would like to get through a season you're in? Maybe you're in a negative season. Anybody in a negative season this morning? Or maybe just a stale season. You just get tired? Anybody ever felt a little season of depression or weariness? I'm very interested in progressing through seasons. Now, there's some seasons I don't ever want to change. We're about to take my son to college, and we're not really looking forward to this season change. Like, man, we've enjoyed knowing where he's at all the time and loving him anytime we want to, and walking down the hall and seeing his face, and then we're gonna go drive 4 hours away, drop him at some campus of a university. We're gonna drive away, and the season will change. And it's sinking in with us that we'll probably never have another season like it's been. So there's sometimes it's a bittersweet progression, but me and Tammy she's in kids' church, so we can talk, okay? We're handling this very differently. And I could tell that she's not appreciating the way I'm handling it. And I'm okay with how she's handling it, but I'm supposed to be handling it like she's handling it. You ever have this rule put on you, men, that you should be handling it the way they're handling it? She's crying a lot. And I'm kind, but I'm not joining her. And we're different people, right? So I'm kind of like, it's not that I'm glad he's leaving, but I'm so excited for his progression. Like, and I'm sure some of this has to do with our family of origin. Like when I left home, it was like, finally, this has been rough, man. It was jacked up, you know. I get to go, but I can make money and not pay mom's bills now. I can make money and pay my own bills. This is going to be great. I can't wait. And so I was ready to go. So I have a little celebration in my heart happening for Peyton. Does that make sense? And it doesn't make Tammy's crying wrong, but it's getting old. I'm like, we've already been grieving for 3 months. I'm ready to go through to the next season. And don't tell her I said that because I've been kind. But it's like, I'm not going to just weep with her. I don't think. Now, hey, if it happens, it happens. It'll be authentic, but it's not premeditated. I'm excited for the boy. I'm glad for what we're doing, and I'm good with us moving on, all right? Now, I do reserve the right to behave completely differently with Jordan. It's okay. I'm not saying this is how I'm going to do it all the time. It's just how I'm doing it this time. And so the idea here is that you get to go through a season. Do you know we don't get to be grandparents if we don't let him go to college, probably? If we never let him out of our sight, if we don't let him move on. Like there's some seasons on the horizon. If God lets us live long enough, I want to get to some of those seasons. I want to enjoy some of those future seasons. But you've got to process through. All right, you with me? We talked about mentors. Mentors can teach you tomorrow's guidance. Let me give you 3 things that a mentor brings. And you should be looking for these 3 things. Some of you have a mentor right now, and you've not cognizantly, it hasn't dawned on you that they're your mentor. Now, a mentor is not somebody you schedule an hour a week with. A mentor could be somebody you don't even know personally. You can be mentored by someone's books that they've written. You could be mentored by somebody that is, on a national stage somewhere that you're watching their life. You could be listening to an investor and allow an investor that's never met you to be a mentor to you. But here's 3 things that a mentor should have. Number 1, a mentor should have information for you. They should inform you. A mentor's not because you need a friend. Would you be my mentor? I'm lonely. That's not how it works. You should be looking for somebody that when they speak, you feel like you're learning something. They have a knowledge, and it doesn't have to be, it's not that they're older than you or smarter than you even, but they have a perspective that's different than yours in such a way that when they speak, you're informed. You're getting new information. That's somebody that could be a mentor. The second thing is they should inspire you. There ought to be something that a mentor, when they say it, you're like, I want to try it. When they talk about it, you kind of like, I wonder if I could do that. An inspiration. One of the things a good mentor will do is they'll help you find what is inside you that inspires you, not just external inspiration. If the only thing that inspires you is outside of you, then when you are going through a lonely season, you have no inspiration. So what you want to do is you want to figure out what you're passionate about and what makes you get up in the morning and go and what inspires you. And a good mentor will inspire you to find your internal inspiration. What God designed you to do, what fills you up, what gets you excited, what gives you energy, okay? So they inform you, they inspire you, and then they insulate you. A good leader will insulate you. Now, most people never understand the leader's insulation because they never quite get to submission. But in submission is where you find insulation. I had the privilege of pastoring this church for 17 years, but I've been in the ministry for almost 30 years, which means a little less than half of the time that I've been in the ministry, I was not the lead pastor. I was in submission to a lead pastor. And I can tell you there's a big difference between being the lead pastor and being in submission to lead pastor. One of them takes all the bullets, and the other one just thinks they do. Now, the whole time I was a youth pastor, I thought I was taking bullets, man. I really did. But when a family would get mad and leave the church, their offering went with them. And I lost a teenager maybe from the youth group, but my mentor lost how he was going to pay me. And now, I just expected my paycheck the next week just as well. But he had to then figure out, what does that look like now? And if I live my life in a way that I never come into submission to the leader, how many of you know a wild, rebellious youth pastor can chase away a lot of offerings and never realize that he's making it very difficult on his own survival? I hate to make church about money, but sometimes money is required. And we're not just talking about church, we're talking about your employment. Where do you work? How do you treat customers? Because if you don't have a mentor that can correct the way you treat a customer, but you expect that person to pay your paycheck, you need to wake up and see how the sausage is made. Because you can have every opinion in the world you want to have about somebody, but it's because of the customer that you have a paycheck. So if you're ugly to customers, you're ugly to yourself. They don't teach this in school anymore, do they? When you get a good mentor, they give you the gift of submission. And it sounds like submission's a cuss word in the United States, but it's not. Inside submission comes insulation. My family has figured out that dad is good insulation. And so Tammy will do it, Morgan will do it, Peyton will do it, Jordan will do it. I'm going to ask you something. Say no. Do you want to go here? No. Then they walk over and go, yeah, I wish I could, but my dad said I couldn't go. What's that called? Insulation. Now that's manipulative insulation, but it's insulation. But there's times where I say no when they want me to say yes. That's when we get the real test of whether they submit or not. And it never fails. I remember Morgan, she's our super athletic one. Morgan was a beast. I mean, she just always attempting something crazy, doing something crazy, got to win at all costs. And we were over at the old church. We were in the old kitchen over there in the old fellowship hall, those of you that know. And they have a normal height counter, but it's up on casters. So it's like that much higher than a normal counter. And we're in there, and Morgan just goes, I think I could box jump up on that. I'm like, number one, no, you're not. You're not going to box jump up onto the counter in the church's fellowship hall. Have you lost your ever-loving mind? She goes, I could do it. And I'm like, I don't care if you could do it. You're not going to do it. She goes, I'm going to do it. I'm like, baby, you're going to hurt yourself. She's like, I got this. And so she does a box jump. And to her credit, her toes made it on. But her toes were not strong enough to hold all her body weight. So her toes made it on. She did this. And the corner just took a gash out of her shin, all the way up her shin, just a chunk. It opened up. It looked like that. And you could see gray bone. And she's like, oh, dang. If you know Morgan, she didn't cry. She's like, oh, man, look at that. I mean, she's opening. I'm like, ugh, ugh. Like, what is happening here? I'm like, now we're going to have to go to the hospital. She's like, it's fine. You know why it was fine? She doesn't pay the hospital bills. Her disobedience cost me a couple $1,000, and I was sick all day because I don't like that stuff. And she's filming it while they're stitching her, and I'm puking, and it's not a blessing. Sometimes submission, the insulation against the pain she pretended like she didn't feel, the insulation against the scar that's probably still on that shin, the insulation comes in submission, right? So you get submission when you get insulation when you submit, okay? So let me read the next verses, because what we just read is Naomi's instruction, and then we see how it's carried out in verse 8. So let's read verse 8. At midnight, the man was startled and turned over. So she's there now. She's at the winnowing floor, which, by the way, let me just set the story for you. This is not a place ladies normally are. This is where the men are. The men have worked all day. They've beat the wheat and the barley. They've let the chaff blow, the wind blow the chaff away. They're protecting the harvest so that they could package it up, take it to market, sell it, and get the profit, okay? So this is a man's work. And so at midnight, the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. Now, how many of you guys, if you're single and you wake up at a place where you're hanging out with all the guys and there's a woman at your feet, you'd be startled too? Okay, you'd be excited. Do you have any takers on excitement? Okay. The Bible says he was startled. Now, we don't know if that was scared or excited, but both of them brought the same question. Who are you? What are you doing here? You know, it's kind of like, what is happening? He turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. By the way, that's exactly what Naomi told her to do, right? Wash yourself, anoint yourself, put on your best cloak, find where he lays, don't do anything till he's eat and drink, and then get at his feet and wait. That's the instructions, and that's what she did. He said in verse 9, who are you? And she answered, I am Ruth, your servant. We said this a couple weeks ago. Ruth means something worth looking at. I am something worth looking at, and I'm submissive. I'm your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. We don't know what all that means, but in their language, it meant you have a right to marry me if you'll have me. That she was literally proposing to him. She was proposing, and his response means he got it, because he said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. So she gets these instructions from Naomi, and they might be a little weird to our culture. It might be a little strange what's going on here, but we're going to take a good look at them today. We're going to put a bow on this whole series, because what Naomi taught Ruth is how to obtain favor from Boaz. Now, I need to explain something to you. Does everybody understand what a type is in the Bible? A type is a picture of something else. So in this story, Boaz is a type of Christ. Boaz is the kinsman redeemer. Jesus is the redeemer of fallen man. So there's a picture here between Boaz and Christ. When you read this story and you look at the typology, you can look at Boaz as a type of Christ. Everything that Ruth is called to do for Boaz, we are called to do for Christ. We are called to live in submission to Christ. And so that's the typology here. If Boaz is a typographical of Christ, Ruth is typographical of the church. It's us. We are Ruth in the story. We are something worth looking at, even if we don't believe we are. Sometimes getting to a place where God can redeem us is getting to the place that we agree with God about us and forgive ourselves and value ourselves. Now, we're talking about favor, and I think in America, favor's become kind of randomly defined and blasé. Like, well, I want everybody to favor me. Well, what you mean is liked. If you get everybody's favor, that just means you're a likable person. It's okay to be likable, but that's not what favor is. Favor with everybody is being likable. Favor with somebody requires procedures and guidelines. There's something about this person. Okay, so I was very likable in school, but I did not get favor from my teachers. Do you understand why? Because I did not subscribe to the guidelines and procedures of the teacher's world. So I was very likable, but I did not get favor from teachers. In fact, I got a lot of, they'd blow their hair. That's a weird move. I mean, you don't see that often, but teachers would do that with me regularly, like year after year. I mean, just a weird move, Eric. They just were done with me, man. I brought that out of them, you know? And so it was a gift. It's called rebellion, and I had it. And so I was not subscribing to the guys. If you ever have a coach that just doesn't like you, this is a shell shocker to some kids that are likable by everybody and they get a coach. One of the great things about going to college is, around here, Peyton's the pastor's son. Peyton's been around here since he was a little kid. Everybody loves Peyton. He's going to go to college where none of that matters. Someone's going to walk up and decide they don't like Peyton just because. And he's going to have to deal with not being likable, and if he cares about the other person, and I pray to God we all start caring more about other people. One of the very unpatriotic things that we have taken in our culture is, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. That makes for a terrible nation. It makes for a horrible community. And it makes you almost impossible to be a minister of the gospel. Because when you don't care what anybody thinks about you, that is synonymous with narcissism. It doesn't make you a strong American, it kind of makes you a jerk. And then you'll find some people that like you the way you are, and you'll decide that because they like the way I am and they like me, that's good enough. I don't have to change. And you never get pulled out of your 5x5. You just bring other warped people into your 5x5 and you do life together. They're family and besties and friends and my people and my tribe. And God goes, I'd like to break it. I'd like to stretch you out a little bit. Because finding 5 people like me does not inform me. It does not educate me. It doesn't sharpen me. Oh, this is good preaching, and I'm not getting any amens. There's none. Ne'er a clap in the building. This is what a way to end the series. Favor with somebody means this, that you've got to start thinking outside of yourself. You can't decide how everyone else is supposed to feel about every topic. You can't determine whether they're good or bad based off what you think about them. You can't decide whether they're worthy to listen to because of what you heard. That puts you into a box that you'll never be pushed out of. It puts walls up of protection around your heart. God can handle bad leaders. God might grow you under a bad coach. God can make you better with a bad referee. God can grow you under a boss that's not worthy. But not if you refuse to engage. I unfriend everybody that doesn't agree with me. Stay stuck, bro. I won't listen to a preacher I disagree with. Stay stuck then. I hope God doesn't treat you in your prayer life the way you treat preachers in the pulpit. Because he knows your thoughts and he knows your worthiness or not to be heard. So what if God just plugs his ears like you do when you don't want to hear somebody that's different than you? What has to happen, I'm going to give you a couple generic ones, because every person is a little different. But if you'll start being called to the others, remember, love one another, forbear one another, encourage one another. There's a lot of one another's in the Bible we're called to do. You're going to have to start thinking about them ahead of yourself. And so if you're going to do that, I'm going to give you some generic guidelines. One generic guideline for the other is something called respect. Man, this is such a messed up thing in the world. My heart's very heavy this week. One of my preacher friends fell this week in a horrible, horrible way. Actually fell a while back, but it became public this week. And the first thing I did, my phone started going crazy. And I knew why everyone that hadn't reached out in that many years was reaching out. And I just ignored every call. And then I fired off a text to him. And I said, I love you. And I'm praying for you. And I'm praying for your church. And I'm praying for your family. And then over the next 5 days, I just cried and prayed. The respect that I have for him remains. And I'll tell you why. Because respect is my part of the deal, not his. If I go around withdrawing my respect from every sinner, I won't have to respect anybody given enough time. Because I'll find something in you and about you that'll make me lose respect for you, so I never again have to even think about you. And I'm watching right now, my heart's breaking while a large chunk of this Christian nation is turning against justifying everything they've done, because we live in a world where we only honor the honorable. And we forget that all we like sheep have gone astray. We forget that all men are liars. So what happens is we get mad at a pastor and we have to leave a church and we never speak to him again. And if you've ever come to this church mad at another church, and I've known about it and we've had a private conversation, you know for a fact, and there's dozens of you, I have encouraged every one of you to leave well and to find a way to forgive and to love them. Why? Because honoring is your standard, not theirs. I don't wait to honor only those who are honorable. I have had to practice this in my ministry. I've had people leave very mad at me. I've had staff members leave mad at me. I've had church members leave mad at me. And man, it seems like the more mad they are, the louder they are. The more posting they do and the more lies they spread. And I don't even want to call it lies. It's their perspective from hurt. And there's always another perspective. But boy, are they just boom, boom, boom. This is it. This is what he said. This is what he meant. This is how he felt. This is what he did. He doesn't care. He has no empathy. Bah, 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 bah. And man, you just sit there and you're like, I have some things to say. This was a two-way street. There were some things that you're not telling the whole story. But because honor is my bar, I am going to honor you where you're not honoring me. I am not going to get in the pig pen. I'm not going to spread the other side of the story. The narrative, when you get mad and leave this church, the narrative to the community be your narrative. You can ask my staff. If I hear my staff correcting the narrative, my staff is in trouble with me. What do you think you're doing? Who told you to borrow my offense? Who told you to stick up for me? Who told you to fight for me? You don't need to fight for me. I'm trying to practice Christianity. I cast my cares on God. Vengeance is the Lord's, not yours. I don't need you borrowing offense from me. Well, they talk bad about my preacher. They're dead to me. Your preacher's probably a mess. And some of what they're saying is probably true. How about you pray for your preacher and let's call it a day? Why don't I dishonor the unhonorable? Why don't I let them reap what they're sowing? That's a verse. If they give me dishonor, why don't I just let them have it in Jesus' name? Bless them out. I'll tell you why. Number one, God only uses sinners. Number two, God speaks through sinners. Number three, I want to hear God. So I honor whoever God allows into my life. And you can say, that sounds crazy. Well, I've been doing it for a long time. Let me tell you something. It works marvelously. Marvelously. Do you know what's actually happened? People have left mad, said all manner of stuff, realized I'm not playing the game, have found a place in their heart to forgive me, and have been able to come back and do fellowship and life with me. And I don't have to apologize for all the junk I threw on them because I didn't do it. Wouldn't it be a shame if we went to church with sinners and every time a sinner was found out as a sinner, everybody at church ostracized the sinner so that they had to leave the church and no one could ever listen to them, no one could ever talk to them, no one could ever befriend them. And then they got right with God, and it's 10 years later, but we're still treating them like the sin they committed 10 years ago. And then when we walk up to this altar and we want God to forgive us what we did Friday night, who do we think we are? I'll tell you who we think we are. Right. So I honor whoever God brings. All men are my teachers. You say, man, how do you do it this, Bob? Pretty good eventually. But because it is a predetermined disposition, when I'm hurt, when I'm mad, when I'm wounded, when I'm scarred, it's a season. It's not a dwelling place. Too many of us lose our seasons because when we're hurt, we build a fortress and we live there the rest of our lives. And we have pastor wounds, we have man wounds and woman wounds and marriage wounds and lover wounds and mommy wounds and daddy wounds and cousin wounds and coaching wounds and police officer wounds and teacher wounds. And next thing you know, there's nobody allowed in our life. And we think we're holy because we invite these select individuals in that are just like us that go, I know that's right, girl. And we go, oh, look, we're doing great. This is my tribe. No, that's your clan. And it's very different. What is this laying at his feet business? I've heard preachers just annihilate this with all manner of what it is when she goes in there and lays at his feet. It's very obvious what it is. When I say it, you're going to go, well, yeah, that's what it is. Can I tell you what it was? Positional submission. Now, if he was a king sitting on a throne, we wouldn't think it's weird. Because that's the context. When you walk in before the king, you position yourself at his feet. You know why this is weird to us? Because this is a guy and a girl, and it's about to become marriage, and we hate submission. So what is this weird seance? What is this man worship? What is this obeisance? What is this? It's positional submission is all it is. And can I really offend you? She didn't speak till she was spoken to. Oh, snap. I just want to tell you, I'm submitting, but let me tell you some things about your leadership style. Let me tell you who you are. Let me tell you what kind of person you are. Let me tell you why you're never going to have a girl like me. And you're not submissive. I hate my boss. I want my paycheck, so I'm going to do what he tells me to do. But every time he pulls up, I'm going to act like I was working. And when he leaves, I'm going to tell everybody that he pays to work for him, what a loser he is behind his back when he's gone. And you're no better, sir. You're not a good employee. You're a thief stealing a paycheck. You say, man, Bob, you're being offensive. Oh, but it's so you'll get so tired of the 5x5 that you will learn to get out of that season because you can die there. And God's got bigger plans than you dying there. He's got favor. This is where God opens his hands and changes everything in your life. But you've got to understand, how do you obtain it? And you obtain it by coming into the positional submission. It's called honor. It's called patient honor. Shh. Just rest in it. Did you see I was submissive? Did you see me be submissive? You didn't even say anything. I was submissive for 4 whole seconds and you didn't say anything. I knew you weren't going to say anything. I was trying to be submissive and you're just some leader you are. Number one, he doesn't believe it for a second because you just started it a second ago. Relax. Give the man a second. Hebrews 6:12. It says this, so that you may not be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Faith it's pushing, right? You ever push with faith? Mountain be moved. I'm pushing in faith. I'm pushing in faith. But then God says, okay, enough faith. Stop pushing for a second. Balance it out with some patience. Do you understand what a season is? How many of you have kids that get so excited around December 1 for December 25? And man, they're pushing. And you're like, patience. And they're pushing. What are you gonna get me? When are we gonna go walk through the toy store so I can give you hints? When are we gonna go see Santa so you can look over my shoulder and get your list right? I gotta stop pushing. Then it's like December 23rd. Can we just open one? Can we open one? There's 17. Can we open one? Can we just open one? I just want to open one. Push. And good parents go, patience. Worn out parents go, one. Sheesh. Hate Christmas. Restraint is a word Americans hate. But restraint is simply this: realizing I have some knowledge for a season that I'm not to yet. And that's okay. Can I talk about premarital sex in Sunday morning church? Had someone leave our church mad because we talked about this topic. It's in the book. You don't get to have sex with everything because you're out of a marriage. In fact, you're supposed to not have sex with anything until you are in a marriage. You say, what is this crazy talk? It's called the Bible. It's something that the Bible has taught for thousands of years. And by the way, though the world has said it's archaic, it's old, look at the joy in their lives when they do what they want. Isn't it great these days to be Andrew Tate? Isn't it great to wonder what disease you're carrying? Isn't it great to have a really high body count and no respect from anyone in your community? Turns out God's way is still the best way, even if you think it's a dumb way. I picked something you'd kind of almost accidentally agree with because there's so many other things. The second we get a hankering, some of you get a hankering to do something at the church, and if we don't facilitate your hankering, promote your hankering, and give you all authority in that whole section of the church, you'll be gone in 6 weeks. Because you don't know that maybe God's given you a desire. Did you know David got anointed when he was a boy? And he had to go live in the palace and keep his mouth shut so he didn't lose his head. And part of that was the training to become the leader of real men. Sometimes you've got to carry a word from the Lord for a while before you exercise that word on the whole church. And that's a good thing. Well, no, I'm going to find a church that'll let me do what I want to do. Whew. Man, You're going to shove a church into your 5x5? That should go well. What could go wrong there? A lot of pastors love that. A lot of other church members love when the new guy wants to shove the whole church into his 5x5. Good on you, sir. Good on you, ma'am. Maybe what you need to do, just a suggestion, is feel a calling and not demand everyone else facilitate it tomorrow. But step by faith with patience. Faith pushing, but not yet. I love young people. Young people are great. I've had young people that tell me they're going to be on our staff. Tell me they're going to lead in worship. Tell me they're going to, and like 1 minute after they're married, they have to leave because I didn't give them everything that they said they were going to get when they came of age. And they don't realize in that moment, it's so confirming that that wasn't God's will. Not for this church. Does that make sense? You say, well, that's mean, Bob. It's really not mean. It's no meaner than a coach going, get your butt on the bench for a second. Calm down and listen to me. That's actually called good coaching. Do you know some of these kids, like, they gotta have what they want, but they never get where they wanted to go when they get everything that they want. Because that is not how God progresses us from one season to the next season. I look back on my early ministry years, and there was some bad days, some unjust days. I've told you some of them. Pastor turning on me, going without, suffering through financial things. You don't need to get mad at that for me. You get the me that got through that, and you're better for it, and so am I. I developed a muscle where there was some pressure that if I didn't have the pressure, there would be no muscle. And I'm not talking about this amazing physique you see before you. I'm talking about spiritual muscles. Sometimes they're hard to see. I'm talking about learning how to be attacked and not reply. That was very needed in seasons of this ministry. Just, take a punch. Because Jesus has Band-Aids, and he's got packs of ice and frozen peas. And Jesus meets with me later, but I can take a punch. I pray that we become a church that's not tossed to and fro by sinners, but rather we become a safe place for sinners to come pitch their fit. Can you imagine if when a kid in Walmart pitched a fit, the parents left him at Walmart? No one would go to Walmart. It'd be full of kids pitching fits everywhere. Just every aisle, another kid left there. She's been here 7 years. His parents left him here. Yet this is how the church wants me to treat sinners. A sinner comes in and they do something sinful, and everybody's like, leave them, church discipline them, expose them, treat them like garbage. And I'm like, wait a minute, but 5 years ago when you were pitching the same fit, I didn't do it to you. You ever watch the people that quit smoking or quit drinking? And then they're on Facebook telling everybody why smoking's bad for your health and drinking's bad for you? You're like, was it bad for you 10 minutes ago? It's funny how we get to a place where everything that we ever did is under the blood and everything everyone else is doing is something we must wring out. Ephesians 6 says this, bondservants, we love that word. Let me help you, employees. A bondservant is somebody that is now paid. They choose to be a servant. It's a servant by choice. They signed up, they applied for the position. Bondservant, you served as a slave and then you were free to go, but you said, no, I'll stay. Please, sir, I want to keep working for you. And he took your ear and he put it against a tree and he drove an awl through it and pierced your ear, and now he owns you for life. It's a choice. That's what a bondslave is. Bondservants, obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling, with a sincere heart, as you would Christ, not by the way of eye service as people pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, rendering service with a good will, as to the Lord and not to man, knowing that whatever good anyone does, this he will receive back from the employer. It's not what it says. Where do you receive it back from? So let me get this straight. I get a job, worked at McDonald's. Day I turned 15, I went down there, claimed hardship, and boy was it. And I got a job at McDonald's, and I worked my butt off. They scheduled me like crazy. I was there every night. I'd go in at 4 o'clock after school and work till close. I was getting 50 hours in school. It was crazy. They're not even supposed to do that. I was the best worker they had. I wasn't gonna have it any other way. I learned every position at McDonald's. I could serve, I could cook, I could clean, I could do drive-through, I could do frontline, I could do it all. That's what I'm talking about. Donald Trump standing there for 5 seconds, please. He said, I could do this all day. I did, all days. Hey, here's the deal. The boss I never heard from Ronald. Never did. I never got a high five. Never got my own pair of big red shoes. Nothing. But you know what? I wasn't obligating a clown. God was watching. And I was obligating God. And it never dawned on me when I got married 2 weeks after high school got out to an 18-year-old girl that we were going to get in our car and drive to Knoxville, Tennessee, find an apartment, find a job, and pay 2 tuitions with a parent that wasn't going to send any. And Tammy's dad told me, she's yours now. Don't expect a check. You got 2 tuitions, buddy. It never dawned on me that in the city of Knoxville, I wouldn't find work because I was willing to do anything and do it well. And guess what? Favor, first job I walked in, got it. Second job I walked in, got it. Third job, had 3 jobs, got first 3 picks, what I wanted. It's called favor. When God goes before you, they all work perfect with my class schedule. I didn't sleep. I sleep now as a pastor. I didn't sleep then. It's fine. You say, man, you've just done it all right, Bob. Oh, no. You don't understand. I was wrung out as a kid in poverty. The lack was so big and so massive. The things that we could not even think about having, God brought me through that lack, and I thank God for the poverty now. I thank God for it. It developed me. And the attack that I received from a pastor, it developed me. And the abandonment of my father developed me. And God will use anything. That's how holy he is. He didn't neglect me. He walked through it with me. He sustained me. He carried me. He bore me under his strength through it all. And all along the way, he was mentoring me and teaching me for next level. And I'm telling you right now, he wants to do that with you. But you keep impugning his righteousness when it doesn't go well. And it doesn't go well when you do that. Fall back in love with the one that sustains you. We're going to wrap this series up, but I want to be very, very clear. If you don't feel like you have the favor of God, that's on you. He's not overlooked you. You've overlooked him. He's not avoiding you. You're probably avoiding him. God's hand is not slack that it cannot save. His hand is mighty to the pulling down of strongholds. He will take your 5x5 and pull it to the ground for your sake. He will send a glorious fireball to your life. And I'm not talking about the liquid. I'm talking about carnage and devastation and destruction. And you're standing there and you hear, God was not in the fire. And then he'll take your world and he'll just shake it like a mighty earthquake. And then you'll hear it, God's not in the earthquake. Then the winds will start blowing. The rocks are falling around you and the winds are too much and God's not in the wind. Then this still small voice will say one of two things. In the story of Elijah, he said, what are you doing here, Elijah? In the story of Ruth, he said, who are you? And the answer is one of this combination. I am something worth looking for, and I am your humble servant. And those two answers will take you right up into season next. And preparation next. And all that you lacked before this moment will be favored to you by God in the next. And you just take a step. You say, what happens next? You live happily ever after? Nope. Because 10 by 10s can become 20 by 20s. And 20 by 20s can become 40 by 40s. You say, this sounds like a network marketing scheme. Oh, it's way better than that. It's out of this world marketing scheme. It's not a network. It's supernatural. And God will just progress you from one season to the next. Human favor works this way. I helped you, now you owe me one, buddy. You owe me a favor. You know what I did for you? I was good in class today. You got to let us go to recess tomorrow. I loved you, sweetheart. You got to love me back. You didn't make me feel good about the meal I made for you. I'm not going to kiss you for 3 days. You're living in some human favor. Godly favor is this. I'm going to help someone and wait for God to bless me. Now I don't have to qualify anybody. I don't have to determine who's worthy of Bob's love. I just get to wake up every day and try to love whoever he puts in my path. Try to serve in any way that I can. Sometimes I get really taken advantage of. Sometimes I get really blessed in the process. But every time, God goes, I saw that. I saw that. Here's a fact, and we'll close on this. Humble service garners God's attention. So the story goes this way. Boaz is leaned up on his crop, his harvest. He's literally the Scrooge McDuck of the Bible. He's swimming in money. He's laying on this big pile of harvest. He's worked all day. He's had some drinks with his friends. He's eaten. His tummy's full, and he drifts off to sleep. And at midnight, he wakes up and he looks, and there's a woman at his feet. And he goes, who are you? And she says, I'm your humble servant, and you're my kinsman redeemer. Spread your wings over me. Marry me. And he goes, don't mind if I do. He said, bless you, my daughter. You could have loved anybody, and you chose this old man. You could have had any guy in town. Everyone knows you're a worthy woman. You picked me. Then he said these words, all that you ask, I will do. Do you remember what Naomi told Ruth? Do all he asks of you. She never gave the promise that he would reply, and all you ask, I'll do for you. There's too many Christians in this room waiting for the ironclad guarantee contract from God that says, if I do this, you'll retaliate tenfold in my life and bless me for it. And so what happens is because we don't have prenumps with Jesus, we don't engage him. And I'm calling you this morning to find the positional submission at this altar today. Your arthritic knees can take this concrete for a second. Your bad back can lean on this wall up here for a second. Well, I just don't do the altar thing. Maybe it's time. You say, you act like there's something special in it. It's what Ruth was told to do. You want to get God's attention? I believe this. When you wash yourself, you anoint yourself, you put on your best cloak, you position yourself at his feet in a humble way, and you wait. God looks and goes, who are you? What are you doing here? And your answer is simple. I'm in this season because you brought me here. I'm not having to stay, and I'm willing to go, but I'm not pushing. I'm just here, your humble servant. And he goes, I'm gonna do all you ask me to do. I didn't say the word prayer one time this whole series, but let me say it to you now. I just gave you 9 weeks of how to get your prayers answered. I just gave you 9 weeks of how to get the favor of God to pour out on your family like you've never had before in your life. But you gotta do it with a pure heart. It's not a quid pro quo with God. It's a humble submission. Would you stand to your feet?